I remember very distinctly years ago being in a place where I wanted change and I knew what I wanted my life to look like, but I had no clue where to start. So I just kept doing what I had been doing, and of course I stayed stuck until one day I just decided to make a move without a full clear plan of exactly how things would work out and really no guarantee that they would. But I had to do something, and taking that first step was the thing that completely changed my life. If you're in a place where you want change for your life, but you're not quite sure where to start, maybe it is going after a dream that you've been putting off, losing a few pounds, decluttering and organizing your home, making some type of change in your life. This video is the guide that I wish that I had and that I'm gonna share with you on taking the first step. Well, welcome back to my channel, my friends, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Christy, and I make content centered around realizing that no matter where we are in life, no matter our age, we are just on time to live the life of our dreams. So the first step. The first step is the initial action that we take to get us moving toward our goals. It doesn't matter how big or small they are, they all require some first step. If we need to go to work, the first step is getting out of bed. If we need to do a workout, the first step is putting on our workout clothes. If we want a new job, the first step might be creating a resume. And many times, the first step is the scariest and the hardest part of any journey. There's something that feels really intimidating about taking that first step, even when we know that it's necessary. But why is that? One, fear of the unknown. When we take that first step, we start entering unfamiliar territory. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know the things that we are going to encounter along the way. And this uncertainty brings a lot of fear. Fear of making mistakes, fear of failure, fear that maybe we can't handle the things that are coming our way. Our brains tend to focus on the potential risk, and then it can be really hard to move forward without a clear idea of what's coming next, a clear idea of the outcome. There's also perfectionism. We put so much pressure on ourselves to get it right the first time. We convince ourselves that if we don't have the perfect plan and that we don't have it all figured out, if we don't have it completely mapped out perfectly so that we can follow this logical order, then we shouldn't start at all. I call this getting stuck in the planning phase and not in the doing phase, because that planning phase can be paralyzing. In the moment, it can be really difficult for us to convince ourselves that perfection doesn't exist. And so then it leads to us not acting at all. It leads to us doing nothing. Another thing is the weight of expectations. When we start doing something new, we often feel the weight of the expectation of that, whether they're expectations that we are placing on ourselves or ones that we perceive others are placing on us. And that can be a huge roadblock. Instead of focusing on our own growth, we are focusing on these external standards. What if people don't understand? What if I fail? There's also the comfort of staying stuck, which is the devil that we know. Even if where we are is uncomfortable and it's not leading us to where we want to go, it oftentimes feels a lot more safe to stay in that place. We don't have to ruffle any feathers. We don't have to do anything different. We know exactly what to expect. But safety comes at the cost of growth and progress. The scariest part of taking the first step is realizing that we have to leave behind what's familiar, maybe some people, maybe some things, some habits, and that takes courage. And then there is always that inner voice of doubt. Many times our inner voice is the loudest and the biggest obstacle. It tells us that we're not good enough, that we're not ready enough, that we're not worthy of success. All of that can really put the brakes on us making any kind of move in a new direction. But that first step is about moving in spite of doubt. And when we push forward, even with the doubt there, we prove to ourselves that we are more capable and more ready than we actually thought that we were. Taking that first step is so crucial because it breaks that cycle of indecision and staying stuck. I've said this before, but there is a process for getting to change, and taking that first step, taking some action, is the start of that process. That initial step builds momentum, and then that momentum builds confidence within us that we can actually do it. That confidence then leads to habits because we've seen ourselves be successful with it before, so we're going to stick with it. And then those habits are what lead to change. As we keep moving forward in that process, the fear begins to fade, but then our confidence builds up. But it starts with taking some action, taking that first step. The first step is the scariest step because it's the moment that you have to confront everything that's been holding you back. But then once you take it, everything starts to fall into place. So I remember when I first started YouTube, posting that first video was so scary. Like, I think I recorded it about 3 different times before I actually said, okay, I am done. I need to actually edit it and put it up. I didn't know anybody who was a YouTuber. I had no clue how to edit. I didn't have any level of experience. In fact, before I started my channel, I didn't really like seeing myself on camera and doing that whole thing. It just always felt kind of weird to me. That whole process was just like, I don't know, but I knew it was something that I needed to do. So I said, okay, well, I'm gonna do it. Took the first step. As I did that, every single step after that came more clearly into view. Learning how to show up on camera became so much easier. Learning how to edit, learning how to plan and script videos, learning how to do all of those things became easier. Even learning how not to care about what other people thought. Like many people who started a YouTube channel, I was so scared that I was gonna make a fool out of myself. Like, I ain't telling nobody. I'm not telling my friends, not telling people who I went to high school with, like, what, 30 years ago? Really dumb stuff. Here's the thing, nobody cares. Just do it. Whatever it is that you want to do it. Everything started to fall into place. Everything made so much more sense. But I had to make that initial leap of saying, okay, I'm going to start the channel. Now that we know what holds us back and why it matters, we need to know how to take that first step. So there are 3 keys in that. The first one is normalize being uncomfortable. It is completely normal to feel uncomfortable or to feel unsure when starting something new or even something that feels kind of big. That feeling of discomfort is not only a normal part of the process, but it's a sign that we're growing. So often we associate discomfort with something being wrong, and so we shy away from it. And it has roots. It makes sense because we are biologically conditioned to do the safe thing, to avoid things that might be potentially dangerous for us. And that's great if we actually are in danger, but it tricks our brains into thinking that it's probably unsafe because it's something that's unknown. It's a signal to our brains that things are about to change, and that can be really scary. But instead of avoiding it, we have to embrace it as an essential part of that process of growing and getting to the place that we want to get to. I keep hearing and coming across this idea that nobody knows exactly what it is that they're doing when they first start a thing, even the greats. Nobody just enters the world being like, I got it together. I think it's so powerful because it's really easy to see other people doing great things and to think, oh, well, they just have something special or it's just easy for them. No, the thing that separates people who make it from those who don't is that they started and that they kept going. Yes, there may be some natural talent that's there, but natural talent can only carry you as far as you are willing to actually jump out there and make that leap to start doing that thing and to keep doing that thing. There are a lot of people who are naturally smart and talented and brilliant and able to do different things, creative, beautiful, but not doing anything with that. So it's not about having natural talent. It's not about having some special thing that other people can't access. It's about starting and not giving up. Starting helps things to become more clear. You take that first step, more steps come into view. Along the way, there are setbacks and you fail. Failure then shows us where we need to adjust, and you just keep going. But we can't ever grow or get there if we never start. So yes, that first step is going to be uncomfortable. Many of you know that I earned my PhD. I have my PhD in education, and it was a dream of mine for such a long time. But I would be lying if I said that that wasn't the scariest leap of faith that I had taken at the time. At the time, I was the special education coordinator for my region of schools, and I was the only one doing it. And they were revamping that role to be basically a director level position. I was a shoo-in. I would have absolutely gotten it. It would have been a nice pay raise that I absolutely needed because my money was not where I wanted it to be. And at the same time, I had gotten accepted into this really prestigious PhD program, which was very exciting, but it meant that I had to stop working full time and I was going to be a graduate assistant making like a third, if that, of my salary. And to turn down that bump in position, status, pay raise that was going to be so sweet to say, no, I'm going to be a full-time PhD student. Ooh, child, that was a full-on, Jesus, I trust you because this is scary. But I knew that it was the right thing. And after applying to the program and getting accepted to the program, the first step was saying, no, I am actually going to do this program. Another thing to do to take that first step is to shift your mindset. Our minds are incredibly powerful because our lives flow in the direction of our inner voice. When taking the first step, our mindset needs to be focused on taking action over perfection. I mentioned that we often get stuck in the planning phase before we actually do something because we often get caught in the trap of thinking that we have to do everything perfectly from the start. And as I mentioned, it keeps us stuck in the planning phase where we're not actually doing any of the thing that it is that we want to do. Or we see the big end goal and we feel like we have to do it all at once. But when you focus on progress and taking some action over fussing over things being perfect, the faster you start building momentum, which leads to confidence, which leads to building those habits, which finally leads to change. I naturally am an all-in girly where I will dive headfirst into a thing and I get myself overwhelmed. And when I get in that space, I need to pull it all the way back from I need to do this whole thing right now all at once to no, what is the next right thing that I need to do? That simple mental shift helps me to focus on what is immediately in front of me and what is the smallest possible thing that I can do to take action. If my house is a mess, I get very overwhelmed. Instead of thinking, oh, I need to clean my whole house right now, this is going to be a day-long process, which leads to me procrastinating and then not wanting to do it. In order to not procrastinate and take some action, I might just say, okay, let me just focus on making the bed, or let me just clear off the counter. By focusing on the one small task, one, I feel immediately satisfied by being able to see, oh, I got that thing completed. And then it takes off the pressure of feeling like I have to do everything at once. It gets me moving and it makes the process feel so much more manageable. With my YouTube example, instead of thinking of all of the things that I needed to do to build a channel, my first thing was, I just need to come up with a video idea. Or for another example, say you're working to build a new routine, a better routine for yourself, filled with all the things that you want to do. Instead of saying, okay, I need to do this, and this, and I have to make sure that it goes exactly according to plan, or I have failed. No, what is the one thing you can start building into your day? I need to make sure that I have 15 minutes set aside for my workout and build that into it. If you're trying to jump from zero to hero overnight or in a week, you will always be disappointed in yourself. But if you give yourself, what is that simple task that I can do? It gives you the ability to start taking action and then to start building from there. Within that, we have to make sure that we are emphasizing those small wins because those are really important and they add up. Sometimes when we don't see immediate results, we feel like we're not making any progress. I have fallen in the trap several times of feeling like when I don't see results by the time that I felt like I should have seen them, I've been doing this for a good whole 2 weeks. Why am I not seeing the progress that I want to see? Then it is easier to give up and to get down on ourselves. But if we focus on those habits, focus on those consistent actions, over time, we will see the changes that we wanted to see. That time is going to pass by anyway. So you might as well spend that time building these small actions and doing them on a consistent basis and knowing that eventually you're going to get there. No, you may not get there in 2 weeks. No, you may not get there in a month. No, you may not get there in a year. But as you continue to do it, you will look back on yourself and you will think, wow, I am completely different than where I started. I am so proud of the progress that I've made. And you'll realize that this huge dramatic change happened in your life because you simply decided to show up and to be consistent, and you didn't have to do it in a way that overwhelmed yourself. And then take the 2-minute rule. And what does this mean? A lot of times we wait on motivation before we get started. And I believe that motivation is a very key component, but a lot of times the way we think about motivation is I'm looking for that excitement, that bolt of energy, those butterflies in my tummy that say it is time to go. That does not happen until we actually start taking action. When we take that first step, even when it's small, and we continue taking those first steps, it fuels our desire to keep going. One of the best ways that I have found to trick my brain to doing something that I don't really feel like doing and I don't feel quote unquote motivated to do it is to use the 2-minute rule. It's something that I found in Atomic Habits and I absolutely love it. Committing to doing a thing for 2 minutes, that feels like nothing, right? It is such a small amount of time, but when you commit to just that 2 minutes, that is a very low barrier to entry, and it tricks your brain into thinking,
oh, this is easy. I got this. I can totally do this.
The 2-minute rule works because the hardest part is always starting. It gets us past that mental roadblock of, okay, let me just take some action. It is a way for me to ease myself into a task without feeling overwhelmed. And once I've got started on it, I've built that momentum and I'm like, okay, well, I can do this for a bit longer. Many times we dread and procrastinate and don't do a thing because we're thinking about how long it's going to take. If there's something that I need to do, say it's a project for work that I know is going to take all day long, and in my head, I'm thinking, oh, this is going to take like 8 hours. I'm probably going to put it off because I don't want to do it. But if I just focus on, I'm just going to do 2 minutes of it, I have gotten past that mental roadblock of just starting it. And it works in every part of your life. I often like to use it when I am not feeling like going to the gym, and I'll say, all right, well, let me put on my workout clothes and I will just go down to the gym for 2 minutes. Of course, 2 minute comes and goes, and I've gone far beyond that 2 minutes, but it also works with cleaning. I will set a timer and say, okay, I'm get as much done as I possibly can, make a game out of it. But then I've already started and I haven't finished it. So of course I want to keep going. Or say I'm wanting to do something for social media and that task might take a little bit longer than mentally I'm feeling like dedicating to it. I would just say, okay, I'm just going to do this one thing and I'm going to do it for 2 minutes. I start that one thing for 2 minutes and then suddenly 5, 10, 15, whatever minutes have passed. And it works because if I did that thing for 2 minutes, I can be super proud of myself that I actually did that thing for 2 minutes. I showed up, I did the thing. But more often than not, I'm going to keep pushing past long beyond that 2 minutes and feel even more excited about what it is that I've gotten accomplished. Committing to taking that first step has truly changed my life, and it is something that I'm always thinking when there are tasks that are new or that are scary or that I'm not really feeling like doing. It took a lot of pressure when I recognized and accepted that I don't have to have everything figured out. I just need to start. So here's your challenge. I want you to write down one small step that you can take toward your goal today, and I want you to let me know what that step is in the comments. So that's what we got. If you enjoyed this video, I would love it if you would give it a big thumbs up and share it with somebody else who also needs to take that first step. Also, if you're not subscribed, like, what are you doing? I'm gonna need you to jump on that. Alrighty, my friends, I love you, and I will see you in my next. Mwah. Bye for now.